So I'm sure the guy's a nice guy. You know, I'm sure that if you met the guy, he was probably warm and friendly and the whole thing. But when it comes to his desire and his passion for attention, to me it's obvious. You know, it's very obvious that, you know, he's got this problem with acceptance. He needs acceptance all the time. And when you don't give it to him, he starts complaining. When he doesn't get the attention he feels like he needs, then he starts complaining. And you know, Jerry Jones, Romo friendly thing, you know, hey, maybe that's what he was talking about. And maybe he was talking about, you know, putting a little bit less pressure on Tony Romo. I mean, you know, the guy is the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. That alone brings pressure. You know, and you don't want to overthink the game. You know, and when you have to worry about whether or not Terrell Owens is going to be pouting that day because he's not getting the ball enough, or he's not giving his all because he's not getting the ball enough, or whatever, you know, you're going to overthink the game. And when you start overthinking, when you're out there and you're not playing with instinct, then you fail. And that's what happened with Romo, and I think it had a lot to do with the Terrell Owens situation. I think a lot of his issues were, you know, always trying to look for T.O. You know, Shango gave one example in the Giants game where Terrell Owens was open. Well, you know, there's probably plenty of examples when he tried to force the ball to T.O. when Jason Witten was open or Patrick Creighton was open. So you can't take that one play and say, well, you know, hey, T.O.'s right because he was open. Well, sure, he was open on that one play. And yeah, he should go back to the huddle and say, hey, man, I was open. But he shouldn't go to Deion Sanders and say, hey, man, I was open. He shouldn't go to the media and say, hey, I was open, or they don't utilize me enough, they don't give me the ball enough. When you're catching, you know, more balls than the rest of the receiving corps combined, and you're getting more yards than they are, you know, 3 times as many, 4 times as many as some of these guys, you know. So, sure, I can understand some of the points that people say about Terrell Owens. Maybe he's misunderstood. I don't think he's misunderstood. I think people understand it perfectly. And I hate to see a talent like that go. But I honestly do think that he was a distraction in the locker room. And I do believe that if he stayed around another year, it would have gotten worse. So, hey, we deal with what we got. We got Roy Williams, who we can't expect to be the speed guy. You know, he's a possession receiver is what he is. He is the quote-unquote Michael Irvin. Not comparing him to Michael Irvin, but as far as his role goes, it's sort of like how Michael Irvin was back in the 90s. Possession receiver, not the speed guy. You got Miles Austin. He can be your speed guy. He can be your quote-unquote Alvin Harper. You know, and then you got Patrick Creighton. He's your slot. So he's your Kelvin Martin, so to speak. So I mean, I don't have a problem with them going into a more run-oriented offense. You know, sure, you have to have that philosophy, so to speak. Well, you know, that's what Shango was saying anyway, and I don't totally disagree with that. But I also know if you have problems, then you have to fix those problems. You cannot pretend that you don't have problems with your offense. You know, you got to have an open mind in this game too, and you have to adjust. It's all about adjustments. It's all about winning. It's all about figuring out how to win, how to be successful, how to get down the field. You know, you got to get a first down first before you can get a touchdown a lot of times. So, you know, when you have the running backs that this team has, and okay, see, going into the season last year, we didn't really know what kind of running game we were going to have. We had 2 rookies, and we had Marion Barber. So now going into this season, we do know what kind of running back we have. We got 3 studs back there. and they should be utilized properly. And if it's more run oriented, cool. You know, and I don't have a problem with it at all. You know, like I said, you know, it's always an evolving thing. You have to adjust. You have to figure out what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. And obviously, you know, the receiving core isn't as strong as it was. But, you know, in the same, you can also say that the running game, you know, the running back core, if you want to call it that, is a lot stronger than it was this time last year. So, hey man, I don't have a problem with it, you know, and you know, the sting isn't quite as bad as it was last night when, you know, it was announced that Terrell Owens was released. I had to think about it and realize that, hey, there's still a ton of talent on this football team. And the sooner we realize that, the better. And just chalk the Terrell Owens thing up as an experiment that didn't go quite as well as we hoped. And just move on from there. I think, you know, I still think this is a championship caliber team. I don't believe we're rebuilding, even though defensively it feels like it. But, yeah, I think we're going to be all right. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be all right. And with that being said, later.